afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Continuing to Keep It Simple in Schoolnet 24. This is an updated version of John Mayer's Keeping It Simple in Schoolnet 23 with the newest updates from the Schoolnet update of version 24. You can follow along with today's presentation with the bit.ly located on the screen. It is case sensitive, and thank you for joining us. Our objectives for today are covering what is Schoolnet, how do we access Schoolnet, how can we create and administer tests, how do we view test results, and resources that we are providing. And first off, hello, my name is Rebecca Stokes. I'm the new Professional Development Specialist for DPI and Product Manager for Schoolnet. I'm a former teacher in grades 2, 4, and 5, former instructional technology coach and facilitator, and also former media coordinator or digital literacy coach, is what our district called them. So I'm coming to you with 14 years of classroom experience, and I'm so excited to be in this role to help support other educators using Schoolnet in the classroom. If at any time you need to contact me, my email is located on the screen, rebecca.stokes@dpi.nc.gov. Happy to help support in any way I can. And again, thank you for joining me today. All right, to get us started, we're going to talk about what is Schoolnet and how can it help. So, Schoolnet is North Carolina's Instructional Improvement System, or IIS. Schoolnet is our statewide IIS, which is a tool to provide data driven instruction. Districts can optionally purchase the Schoolnet component of homebase. Schoolnet contains thousands of standard aligned resources across many content areas. Some of those resources are lesson plans, lesson units, projects, already created assessments, and we also have the Go Open platform located in Schoolnet with thousands of resources that have been teacher approved and teacher submitted for use in North Carolina. Schoolnet is largely about tests and assessments. Teachers can create tests using ready made questions that are already aligned to the North Carolina standards. And once students have taken the test, teachers get a rich analytical report to identify students' strengths and weaknesses and to inform further instruction. So let's take a look. We're going to take a brief tour of the Schoolnet interface before diving in deeper. So when you first log into Schoolnet, you're going to have this welcome back message and it's going to have your name. And on the left-hand side is our menu bar. It will be smaller until you hover over and it will expand into this menu bar where you can see the KPI dashboard, reporting, classroom, instructional materials, and assessments. On the right-hand side, you're going to have this bell letting you know of any notifications. This question mark will lead you to help, where you can find lots of resources for any topic that you may need additional support on. And then you have this icon right here helping you sign out. Right below is what's new in Schoolnet, where you see new product feature releases, release notes, and anything else that's new to Schoolnet. So right below your welcome message, it will have what your role is and then the school that you are located at. And then below, you're going to have the splash page widget. So this is where DPI will provide updates. And then underneath here, you actually have a choose a section widget, which is where you can select this arrow right here and choose the different selections that you are wanting to look at data for. You can look at one at a time, but this is where you can navigate between those. So right below that select a section widget is the classroom assessment monitor. On the top four tabs are always going to be district and local test, classroom test, standardized test, and test management. So you just click on the different tabs to select the data type that you are looking for. Once you have selected the tab you are wanting to look at, then right below you have a select an assessment. So you can click this down arrow here to navigate between the different assessments that fit into that category. So for this example, we chose the district and local test and we chose a nonfiction passage. And then below that, we are going to always have this report. This is going to be the default report that shows, and this is the score group comparison. So this data piece right here does depend on the level of data available. So depending on how many students have taken the assessment so far will determine how much data you have here. You have the score group comparison in the chart right beside this score group comparison, showing you the section, the school, and the district based off of the scores. Right below, you will also have the color code letting you know what each level is depending on the color. So you can see that this dark maroon color is going to be the 0 to 19 performance. So we can see district, school, and then section. How much of that is that maroon color, and then going all the way up to this turquoise blue where it's a range of 100 to 90 for the score. Then you can also see that as well in these different sections. On the right-hand side, you have the pre-formatted reports, and we'll get into more detail of those in just a minute, but you can easily access them here. That's the test summary, the standards analysis, the student analysis, the item analysis, the new score response distributions, as well as trends and standard performance. Okay, right below, we're going to scroll down and then we see the Classroom Assessment Monitor widget to view individual student results for the selected assessment. So right above this is where we had the report we just looked at. And then if you just keep scrolling, that's where you can see the student performance as well. The filter at the top allows you to select the specific standards or score groups that you are wanting to look at. So you can click on overall performance or you can click performance by standard. You can also check these boxes here if you want to filter by the different score groups. And then below you will see the students and you see that it is blue. Anything that is blue is hyperlinked. So if you were to click on this student right here, you would be able to view their profile. Each row is going to display the percentage score, the score group that they're in, and a graph of the standard performance. And if we continue to scroll down, then we would see the classroom profile widget. So this displays the class roster for the selected class, and you can sort by the course or the roster for the course, the grade, the benchmark results, or the student groups if you have created any. So you just select whichever one of these you want to sort by, and it'll change. And then again, if it is blue, it is hyperlinked, so you can click on the student and view their profile. All right, so how can we access Schoolnet and is there a sandbox? And of course, the answer is yes. So to access the Schoolnet platform, you're going to log in via NCEED Cloud. If you're not sure of how to log into NCEED Cloud, you're going to want to speak to your principal or data manager to gain access if needed. But once you are in your NCEED Cloud, you're going to click on the red house icon to access Schoolnet. Now, to access Schoolnet training, we do have a bit.ly here that's going to connect you to that training site, and you can follow along with us in the next few slides, or you can just follow along with the presentation and view the screen. But we have given you a teacher login to that training website if you would like to kind of click around and follow along with us. All right, so the first thing we're going to cover is how can we create and administer tests, and can we make our own questions? So to create a test, you can use pre-created items that are already aligned to the North Carolina standards, or you can create your own. They're centered around the idea of standards mastery, and this can be within just one of your classrooms, several classes, the entire school, the entire district, or in the entire state. Creating test items can be done when building a test or at any time. You can create your own item banks to organize the items, and there's many question types available, and you can embed media, calculators, etc. So let's try it out. We're going to use the training site or follow along as we create a test with a few items. All right, so first, how to find assessment items. So if you're in the training site, on the left-hand side, you're going to want to click on the down arrow next to assessments. So again, this is on the menu on the left-hand side. It's at the very bottom. You're going to want to click this down arrow that says assessments, and it's going to expand that navigation option. Then you're going to click the second find. So what I mean by that is right here, you're going to see find, but that's under test. So we don't want to click that one. We want to click the second find, which is under items, rubrics, and passages. From there, most teachers will likely want to select items to search for the test questions, but ELA or social studies teachers may wish to search instead by the passages and linked items. So, what this means is that if you are ELA or social studies, then you can click the passages and search for the passages that you like, and then you'd be able to see all the questions associated with that passage. Where if you just go to find items, then you might be searching for several different items that are linked to several different passages. So, ELA and social studies, you can, of course, decide whichever one of these is best for you. But if you want them to only have a few passages on the assessment, then you're going to want to click passages and linked items. Okay, so once we have selected items, then the set search options are on the left side. So you can search by text or keyword. You can search by the item banks. You can search by subject, grade level, standards, the publisher, the DOK level, and more. So there's Bloom's taxonomy. There's lots of different filters here for you to select how you want to choose your questions. Okay. So once you have selected which one of these, so in this example, we selected the math subject and notice that we did not um, filter it down by grade level. So we have right here 44,811 items. So that's before we selected the grade level. Okay. If you ever need to reset your search filters, you can just click right here to clear all filters. On the right-hand side, we have this hamburger menu right here where you can preview the question as a student, which is really helpful to be able to really see what it's going to look like to them. And then right below that is going to be the question properties. Okay, so it's going to show you the keywords, the name, the publisher, the DOK level, the cognitive demand, the language, and then some statistics on that question as well. If you want to find passages instead of items, you're going to toggle the checkbox at the top for Find and Group Items by Passages. So that is located right beside the number of items and the clear filters. You'll see right here, Find and Group Items by Passage. So you can toggle on to search by passage or uncheck and toggle off to search by question. The search results are going to show passages within their linked items underneath. So, for example, we have a passage right here, and then if we were to scroll down, it's going to show you all the questions that are associated with that one passage. You can click here to hide the linked items if you only want to look at the passages. On the left-hand side, we still have the additional filters and the search filter options, and on the right, we still have the passage properties. So, based off of that article that we had, we would have to keep scrolling down, but you can see the same article stampede right here. And below, there are 70 items linked to that one passage. So, you can click select all to view all of those questions. And then as you are scrolling, whoops, I apologize. As you're scrolling, you'll be able to see on the left-hand side these empty boxes where you check that to add it to your, it says add to cart, so it's like adding it to your test. And then you would scroll down to continue seeing those questions. By clicking all filters at the bottom left of the search results, it will allow you to see all filter options. So the first set of filters includes item banks, subject, grade level, standard, and text search. So if we go back up, so I can show you where that's going to be. Clicking the wrong thing, excuse me. So right here, if we were to click all filters right here, then that's what's going to take us right here to the all filter options. So you can select your subject here, you can select your item bank here, your grade level, your standards, or if you just want to search a name, keyword, content, passage title, passage content, any of that, you can search right here as well. You can also filter by the item type. So you can choose multiple choice, true false, gridded response, open response, inline response, matching, and checklist if you're going to give it online or print it. But if you know you are strictly doing online, then you also have these additional options of hotspot, single and multiple selection, drag and drop, click, stick, click, drop, gap match, graphic gap match, hot text, and universal. And if we scroll down, we'll have more. You can check here to only show open response items linked to the passage or linked to rubrics, excuse me. Um, and then you also have multi-part questions, and you can click here to show only items linked to the passage. And this is what the screen looks like if we continue to scroll, where we see item properties, where we can do keywords, name, author. If you know it's a question created by you, you can check this box right here to only see those. If you know the publisher or the date that the item was added, you can check this box to exclude items that you've already used on your current year test, which is a really nice feature because as we get to the end of the year, sometimes we don't remember which items we've already used on an assessment. So this will automatically take out items that you've already used on a scheduled test. You can select the author difficulty, the Bloom's taxonomy, the cognitive demand level, the DOK, question languages. You can do export eligibility, and then we will see the item statistics down here if we continue to scroll of the number of exposures, the estimated response time, the in count. And then right below that, we have the p-value or the item difficulty, the item mean, the item total score correlation. You can check this box to show only items that are aligned to an archived standard. So you have lots of filter options. So once we have selected all of the filters that we wanted, then on the left-hand side is where the empty boxes that you can check to add items to your test or to your cart. It's going to tell you right down here in this little shopping cart how many items you have already selected for your test. So if you know that you want to make a 5-question quick formative assessment, then you can easily see how many you've already selected here. If you need to completely start over for some reason, then you can unselect all and start over. But once you have the items that you would like, you just click right here where it says add selected items to test. So on the add these items to the test screen, you can choose to add these items to a new test or select an existing test. Okay, so right here where it says create a new test with these items, that will create a new test. Okay, or if you want to add to an existing test, then you can find that test here by putting in the test name or ID, and you can put the subject as well, and then it will list the test that you already have, and then you can select here if you want to add it to a test that's in draft mode that you have already started. So when you're creating a new test, it is required to input a name for the test. So that's why it's got that asterisk right there. You have to create a title for the test. Then you're going to have to put in the subject, the grade levels, and the preferred standards document. So all of these have the drop down arrows except for the test name for you to be able to select um, the different options that are available there. So we do recommend that you choose the standards template here. It is not a requirement, that's why it does not have that asterisk, but it is recommended. The test category is going to be My Classroom. It's typically left at this default, but school or district leaders have the option in that test category of school benchmark and district benchmark. Teachers do not have that option, so it depends on your user rights as to what you're going to see here. But these categories allow a single test to be given across a school or district if it is school benchmark or district benchmark. But my classroom, it's only going to be for your classroom. So you have down here unanswered questions to include in the score. You do have a toggle down to change that, but these are typically left at the defaults. The score type you can change as well, and you have some default fonts that you can choose here. And if we keep scrolling, you have the option of the open response text formatting. Again, these are typically left to the defaults, but you do have the option of changing it. The answer choice layout, the answer choice positioning, the gridded answer entry, enable tools and manipulatives, student comments, which it says consider enabling. If you want students to be able to comment at the end of a test, maybe like feedback of, I really felt like we had covered all of these standards, or I felt like I had not mastered this objective, or any comment like that, or you can check for them to comment on each item. So it's a great way to get feedback from your students as well. So do consider enabling that on some of your assessments. These are typically left at the default, whether you want to hide the teacher name and section information on answer sheets, capture teacher comments on the answer sheets, enable assessment notes, enable student self-assessment. So again, these are going to be default at no. You can change it if you prefer, but they're typically left there. Now, right below are the accommodations, and these are very important to enable. So you have the option of line reader, magnifier, text to speech, and enable text to speech for passages. So if these are going to be used by some of your students that have accommodations on your test, then you want to make sure that those are enabled. Enable printing, typically left at the defaults. If you want to be able to print the student test booklet, the test rubrics, the answer key, the scoring instructions, the cover sheet. Again, you can uncheck those, but typically those are left at default. It's not saying you have to print them, but at least you're given the option if you need to. And then right below that is the test restrictions, typically left at defaults, but for parents and students, no restrictions. Hide correct answers, restrict access to item content and answer choices. These are going to default to always. Restrict access to test details, correctness, standard analysis, item content, and answer choices, and hide tests from student profile. So again, you have the option of changing those, but those are typically left at the default. And then right below that is the co-authoring settings. So this gives you the ability to grant specific individuals access to the test for collaborative co-authoring. You cannot work on it at the same time. It's not like a Google Doc. One person would have to edit, save it, and then close it out so that the other person can then open it, continue editing, save it, close it out. So it is considered a draft. And is available through the co-authoring page to the other co-author. So you can click to enable co-authors. So if you have a particular teacher that you know that you want to work on this with, then you can select the co-authors and add them to the co-authoring settings so that they have the option of editing as well. So once you have everything and you are satisfied with all the test settings, you're going to click Generate Test to create the test and continue to the next step. So clicking Generate Test will generate the test and take you to the test editing interface. This screen allows you to edit each test item that was selected. Note that editing items from the state or shared item banks will unlink that item from the bank and create a custom copy visible only to you. If you do not have any changes to make, or if you are finished with your edits, then you can click to return to the test details page at the top right or bottom right. A save button is also available at the bottom right to save any changes. So if we look on the left-hand side, we see our 3 questions that we selected, so you can navigate to each one of those here, or you can navigate to them here as well. Notice that you can preview the test as a student If you need to exit this test editing interface, you can do so here by clicking to return to test details. Once we are looking at the questions, then we can see here where we can add a passage. If we need to adjust the question text or format of the question, we can change all of that here. If you need to adjust the answers or point values, you can do that here, selecting the correct answer. If you want to add an explanation, change the points. If you need to add additional items, if you decide that you need more than 3, then you can add items here. If we continue to scroll down, then we see the standards alignment. So that's going to where you can adjust the link standards. So if you decide that you did not mean to link it to the career and technical education, you can hit the little trash can to delete that and then select the standards that you need to. Here you can add tools, manipulatives, and formula sheets. So you would upload your formula sheet here, and then the tools and manipulatives, you would have this drop down here, and you can select the ones that you want to be made available. You can save any changes here and then exit this interface by clicking Return to Test Detail. So the Test Details page has been completely redesigned in Schoolnet 24. This new interface makes it easier to find the appropriate program option and functions depending on the stage of the test. The test stage is shown plainly in the top right. So you can see right here the current test stage. So it is highlighted yellow, letting us know that we are in the current test stage of draft. It's going to give you the title here. It's going to give you the ID, and it's going to list the grade level, subject, where it's located, all right here on the top. Below that, the white navigation bar shows quick options that are related to the current test stage. So in the draft stage, there are buttons to add items, edit items, preview the test, or finalize the test to move it to the next stage. And you can find all of those right here, where you can add more items since we're in draft, we can edit items since we're in draft, or we can preview the test. Below that, there are 4 tabs that allow you to navigate through various different options, like your item summary, which will list the items, the standard alignment, the total points, correct response, and the selected rigor measure. The item detail tab will show you the full list of items. The test settings will allow you to adjust the test settings selected in the previous step. And the download resources will allow you to download the test booklet, answer key, or cover sheet for printing, or add associated teacher resources. When you are ready to move forward, you're going to click Finalize Test to move it into the next stage. Advancing to the test to the final stage, we'll change the options available at the top. So notice that we are now grayed out in draft and we are this green color in finalized, and we no longer have the same options that we did in draft. So we can modify or preview. Modify here, preview here. So modifying is going to take it back to the draft stage and then preview as a student. But once you are ready to schedule, then you click Schedule Test to advance it to the next stage. Here in this hamburger menu, you can select to copy this test or to delete the test. Okay, so we are now in the ready to schedule a test. The first step for scheduling a test is to enter the test dates. Okay, so underneath the administration, you're going to want to set those testing dates. The start date and end date should cover the entire period of time that you expect students to be taking this test. The score due date is the date that additional tests and item statistics will be generated based on the results. You have additional options to allow you to prevent students from accessing the test outside of these dates, prevent them from seeing their results until after the end date, or prevent scanning of answer sheets for teachers after the score due date. Typically, teachers will leave the bottom 3 options unchecked, but consider enabling the score sharing with PowerTeacher. Note, if you will use this assessment within Canvas, do not check this box. Schoolnet assessments linked to Canvas will pass their grades to Canvas, which can then pass them to PowerTeacher Pro. So if you check to score here, then you are not going to want to have the grade pass back in Canvas, and vice versa. If you're going to have the grade pass back in Canvas, then you are not going to want to click sharing scores with PowerTeacher Gradebook, because the two are trying to do the exact same thing, and it's just going to mess up the scores in your gradebook. So just keep that in mind if you are using Canvas. The next step is to set up the assignment for your students. Teachers can select the entire class or individual students. School and district leaders can only recommend or assign a test to a particular course or section. So click Select Assignment right here. That's going to be where it's assignment for your students. And check off the desired section or students and then click Save. So once you click here, this is what's going to pop up, and you can assign it to your section, which is your entire class. So you just check the boxes here, or you can click Assign to individual students and select those students that you need to have this assessment. And then you would click Save to continue. So again, note, if you enabled the grade passback to PowerTeacher Pro, be sure that the test has been assigned to a class section. Never share test passcode with another teacher. Instead, make a copy and assign the copy to your class. Okay, so keep on scrolling, or the next option after you select that, it's going to be the online delivery options. This is scheduling a test phase 3. So this is the final step, and typically teachers will leave many of these settings at their default. You may want to customize the online test passcode. Students will use this passcode to launch the test, but we recommend enabling the track and display student response time feature so that your reports will show how long each student took to answer each question. And that you can see right here under the item features. You can also choose to scramble the question order or to scramble the answer choices. Um, And then under test access, that's where the passcode is for students. And again, that is customizable. You can change that. Um, and then the required use of a secure test application. That's not normally checked for classroom assessments, but you do have that option. You do want to display this on the Take a Test widget, which means that as soon as students log in, they're going to see that they have a test to take for your classroom, and they can just click there. The display this test on Review a Test widget on the student homepage, I would definitely keep that enabled as well so that after they have finished, they can review it. Um, excuse me. And then you have the options of allow only assigned students to take the test, restrict test access to specific days and times, and disable student section selection. Um, you have the student facing features where you can make this a timed test if you prefer. But I would check to allow students to resume a started test so that if for some reason their computer dies or they get checked out or anything that would require them to be away from the test, that they can resume it, which is going to want to have you to allow students to pause the test as well. We know that lots of things come up in class when you have different drills or being called up to the office or any other things that would cause a student to have to pause the test. So definitely want to enable that. And then you would want to check the show student score upon test submission if you want them to be able to see what their score is as soon as they submit it. You can save the settings for future tests if you're pretty sure that you're going to want these same features on all of the assessments that you have for your classroom, then you can check that and it's going to save it as a template. Next, you are going to click Save and Publish this test. Okay, so this is where it's going to take you. So it's going to tell you this test is currently being published. So you're going to want to wait for publishing to finish. So it says the test can be administered or scored only after being published, and you'll be notified when publishing is complete. So the little bell is going to give you those publishing notifications, letting you know that it is ready. Um, this is what it's going to look like. So you're going to have a little number right beside your bell, and it's going to tell you the test has been successfully published to TestNav, and you can click this blue hyperlink to go to the test. Okay, so when you are ready to administer the test, you're going to want to make sure that you have your test ID handy. You're going to want to make sure that you have the passcode for students nearby as well, just in case a teacher needs it. You can scan answer sheets or you can score it manually. Below here, the test collection. This is where you're going to view the collection status and data collection report. And it's going to tell you right here 0 of 32 have started, but once they have begun taking the test, then this number will change. And then you can view the Proctor dashboard here, which is going to give you a live view as students are completing the questions. Okay, so what do the students see? Okay, so this is the student view. So when students log in, they're going to see the same welcome, but it's going to have their name, and they're going to automatically see this take a test widget. So this is where they are going to enter the passcode that you give them and click go. And it's going to ask them to select the class, and then they're going to click start your test. Okay, so once a student launches their test, they will see screens similar to this. A toolbar along the top of each question is going to pop up. So for example, right here, they can toggle between the questions here. They can bookmark it. Then it's got some tools for them like highlight, cross out answers, and take notes. So once students answered all the questions, they'll have an opportunity to review before clicking the final submit final answers. And depending on your test settings, they may be shown their results immediately after submitting the test. So once they have started, then this is what the questions look like. And then it's going to have them kind of have a summary right before. It's going to show them how many they did not answer and if they bookmarked any. So this is nice because if they skipped over one and they forgot to go back, then they can see, oh, I have one unanswered question, so they can go back and finish that. But once they have completed and they're ready to submit, they'll just check right here, submit final answers, and this is what it's going to look like for them. So depending on your settings, they might immediately see the score that they got, and they can go through and see those depending on your settings. Okay, so while the students are taking the assessment, the Administer a Test Proctor dashboard. This is what this is going to look like. So you are going to see the name of the test here and the passcode. You can switch sections. So if you have multiple students taking an assessment all at once in different sections, you can navigate between those here. You're going to see the overall collection status. So we have 30 that have not started, one that's in progress, and one completed. On the right hand side, you will see the refresh data. So it's going to refresh every 58 seconds, but you can click refresh now if you need it to speed up a little bit. Below, you're going to have the collection status by student. So it's going to list all of your students and it's going to let you view performance in real time. So it's going to show you, you can see the 3 individual bars because we had 3 questions. So it's going to show you that this student got these 2 incorrect, got this one correct, and then it's going to immediately show you the results and if they've completed it, if they're in progress, or if it's not started. So if for some reason a student says, "Oh, I wasn't finished," it says completed, then you can click resume to manually resume the test here. Okay, now if you are choosing to sync to PowerTeacher Pro, remember not if you are linking to Canvas, then this is what that is going to look like. So if you enable the test schedule setting to sync with PowerTeacher Pro, then you will see the sync status below the assignment heading at the top of the details page or at the top of the test details page once the test is scheduled and in progress. So you're going to click Share Now to select the gradebook category the test should be associated with. Once the category is selected, Schoolnet will attempt to sync the test and any results to your PowerTeacher Pro gradebook for all assigned class sections. Any errors will be displayed in this section, and if changes are necessary, you can click Edit Share Settings. If you would like to manually sync, then you can click Refresh Now, and that'll send updated data from Schoolnet to PowerTeacher Pro. So once you have selected the test category and you click Share, then it's going to look like this, where it tells you that your gradebook is updating, and this is what it's going to look like here. Um, it's going to say that it um, is current for those sections, that it updated today. You can click refresh now or edit the share settings here. Okay, so how do we view the test results once the students are finished, and how can those help in class? Okay, so how to access the test results and reports. On the homepage, you're going to click the reporting tab to access the reporting dashboard. And if you are following along in the training site, then there are data pieces in there that you can look at for the training purposes as well. So feel free to continue following along with us in the training site. Okay, so remember that the test summary is always going to be the default report. So once you have, let me go back. So once you have clicked the reporting dashboard and you have selected the test that you want to look at, then this is what's going to pop up. So I selected this reading assessment here. So my test summary is going to show me the summary of the entire class, or all the students that took the assessment. So I can immediately see that the average score was 51.3%, and it's orange, showing me that that is in the not proficient level. And below that, then I can see the students that were proficient, which is 40%, showing me these four categories right here. It is still color coded, just like we saw at the beginning of this. And then it's going to break down the score groups, the percentage of students, the number of students, and their score range. It is also going to automatically separate it into proficient and not proficient. On the right-hand side, you have the option of exporting the student response report. You can export it to PDF, and it's going to show you how many students took the assessment versus how many you have in your class, how many items there were, and how many standards were covered. The next tab is the standard analysis. So what that's going to do, if you have multiple standards being assessed on the test that you gave, then it's going to show you a bar graph of the results for each one of those standards. Now, notice this report is not going to be helpful if you were only assessing on one standard. So this is only going to be helpful if you had multiple. So for this assessment, we covered 6 different standards. So you can see that the students performed better on this standard than they did on this standard. So this is really informative for um, teachers to be able to see what they need to reteach and remediate, and what standards the students were proficient on, and can move on. Notice that it's still color coded. Okay, so even though the students were more proficient here, it is still in that 70 to 79%. So if you are wanting to be in the 90, 100%, then it would be that teal blue color, and obviously the bar would be up higher. Um, but this is just a really good overview to see what standards need to be reassessed. Okay, the next tab is the student analysis, and what that's going to do is show you a list of all of your students that are in this section. It's going to have their student ID, if they are getting EC services, their race, and then it's going to start breaking down the assessment. It's going to give you the percent correct, their raw score, and their score group. So this just breaks it down by the student. Okay, the next report is the item analysis. This was personally my favorite report because it helped me really break down each individual question to be able to see, was there a vocabulary misconception? Did they completely miss the entire standard? Or was it something that I might have taught incorrectly? So it's just a really good reflection piece to see each individual question and how the students did. So on this report, then we can see the items here, and then I can see the section percentage correct. So that's the entire class. And then I can see the standard that was associated with it. I can see how many points it was worth, and then I can see the correct answer. Now remember that anything blue is hyperlinked. So if I wanted to look at the question, I can just click on item 1 right here, and it's going to show me that question. And then I can go through and analyze the correct answer versus what everybody selected. Okay, the standards mastery is going to show you the standards. So for this assessment, we covered it was 6 different standards, but I've got 4 of them in this picture right here. It'll tell me how many from that standard were on the test, and then it's going to tell me how everyone scored on it. Okay, so I can see that 7 students for this standard were in the 90 to 100%, 7 were in this 40 to 59, and 1 was in this 0 to 19. I can also see how many times I have scheduled that standard, how many times I've assessed that standard. So I can see that I have assessed RL 3.1 5 times so far in my assessments from my classroom. Um, and then we can see like this one's been assessed 7 times, and then I can see 11 students are still in that 0 to 19 score, and 4 are in the 90 to 100. There was only 1 question on the test, so I might need to go back at that 1 question and see was it something about the fable or folktale that might have confused the students? Is it a vocabulary misconception? So on. So it's a really good piece to drill down into this data to really see student understanding. Okay, the trends report is going to do just that. You select multiple tests to compare. So I chose the same test, but there was a Unit 3, a Unit 2, and a Unit 1 selection. So I selected all 3 of those, and it's going to compare those 3. So I can see this was 40%, this was 40%, and this was 46%. So it's going to display in the order that you check. So that's why it's going Unit 3, Unit 2, Unit 1. If I had selected Unit 1 first, then that one would be over here on the left-hand side. Um, but you can see from Unit 1 to Unit 3, the score has gone down from 46% to 40%. Um, but I'd be able to look at the item analysis and the test detail of these 3 different assessments right here instead of having to go back in, click those, and then see the test detail and item analysis. I can also see the number of times that it has been assessed with this particular standard, and it was 16 times. So this is just if you want to see a trend of a particular standard across multiple assessments, this is a good report. Okay, summary statistics is the next to last report. So it's going to give you an overview of the data. It's going to still give you the subject, the grade, number of test taking students, possible points, high score, low score, standard deviation. But then it's going to list all of your students. So I've got 4 in this screenshot here that gives me the raw score. Again, this is just for this one particular test. The percent score, the score group, if they were proficient, what percentile they were in, what quartile they were in, the NCE, the Stay 9, and the standard score. So this is going to really give you a statistics for this particular test so that you can analyze each component and see what the difference is between the student who's getting a score of 9 versus the student who got a score of 0 to really figure out what do we need to reteach, what do we need to remediate, what do we need to offer additional support for students. You can click right here to get a definition of the terms that are located in here. So if you're not sure what the Stay 9 is, then you can click here to get a definition of that. You can also export to Excel or export to PDF. And the last report is one of our new reports for version 24, and that's the item response distribution. And what that's going to do is it's going to break down each question. So this is just one particular question here. And it's going to tell me the estimated response time was 7 minutes and 42 seconds is what they think that it should take. And then it's going to show me the correct answer choices, but it's going to show me the most common error. So the correct choice was B, and for the school, that was a 50%. For the district, that was 67%. But the most common error, again, for school and district was here. And then it's going to list the standard here, the primary standard, and then if there were any additional standards there. So that's just going to compare the item, the response of the items, how the rest of the school and district did on that particular question. Okay, we also have assessment comparison. So this is not located in the um, reports here. So to get to this report, so if I am going to my reports for that section, then I can see a list of all the reports. So to get that comparison report, what you're going to do is you just select over on the left-hand side the two that you want to compare, and then you can click Compare Assessment. So that's how you get that assessment comparison report. So let's go back to that. There we go. So once you have selected the assessments you want to compare, it's going to tell you how many you selected, and if you want to add more to compare, then you can do that here. It's going to give you the performance comparison, and you can also compare by standard. But for the performance, it's going to show you the average score, average raw score, student proficiency, and the score groups. It's going to color the bars depending on the assessment and just show you um, the comparison of the two. You can also, again, click standard comparison to compare how students did on the standards just on the reports that you chose. But to read more about assessment comparison, we do have a quick reference document located in this link right here that will give you even more details about this. All right, so those were all of our reports. So where can we learn more about Schoolnet and what if we still need help? Because we went over finding test items, selecting them, adding them to our test, giving the test, how to view students as they're taking the test, and then all the different reports that are available. But what if we need to know more or still need help? Well, we have linked here lots of resources. So you can click a link here to get to the training site. You do have to have a login for that. So if you are not in a leadership role at a school, you're going to want to talk to your Schoolnet leader about that. We do have Schoolnet videos here linked to our YouTube channel. We do have Schoolnet courses in Canvas that are linked here. We have resources, lots of quick reference documents and presentations from the past several years. So even though Schoolnet has been updated to different versions, so have these resources, but the ones from previous years are still available. If you just need a quick reference document for assessment creation, have that here. The item types, math formulas, co-authoring, and accommodations. So if you were to click on one of these links, let's see if it'll let me click on it. There we go. Then, so I clicked on the assessment creation, then this is just going to be a quick reference card for assessment creation in Schoolnet. So if you have a specific item that you are looking for, then we have the most popular ones linked here. But if you click on the DPI Schoolnet resources here and scroll down, then you can see all of the quick reference documents that we have for you to use, and they're sorted over here into assessment, basics, data and reporting, items, materials, and if we keep scrolling down, then we have some training presentations from the past several years as well, all linked here. Let's go back here. But of course, if you have any questions, then you can email me at rebecca.stokes@dpi.nc.gov at any time for any questions that you may have. But thank you for joining me with continuing to keep it simple in Schoolnet 24.